Hey yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk, and I've got another replay analysis. This time from a very new player. SevenSided comes over to us from World of Warships. I may have to ask him some World of Warships for some World of Warships help. Well, that's not been going well for me, but we'll see. We'll see how the future goes on that. But SevenSided has sent me a bunch of replays actually. We're going to take a look at some 3001D Tier 6 German medium tanks. I think medium tanks are probably one of the best ways to learn the game. They can be very frustrating, though, I think, for a new player, especially when you get to Tier 6. I might recommend maybe swing over to some of the heavy tanks and see what you can do there. But let's talk about it because there's a lot of good things here to talk about. We're going to have to get really, really basic, though, with SevenSided because there's just some very basic game mechanics stuff that he's struggling with a bit. But that's good. Let's take a look at some of that. So first game we'll do 3 on steeps. So here we are on steeps, and he is spawned into the south on an encounter mode. He's headed over here to the east side, which I thought was okay for a medium tank. Not a bad position. SevenSided is, I think, learning the maps to a large extent still. Learning approach points, learning places he can go, where he's going to get spotted, where he's not going to get spotted, all that kind of thing. So this, like I said, is going to get quite basic here. As far as your driving technique, it looks like you're locking your tank turret forward with the right mouse. I would actually be looking at the direction the threat's going to come from. Your first threat, if somebody's fast, is going to be in that general area, or potentially even as you are crossing that opening back there, looking to the left. What that does is it keeps the front armor of the turret, at least, pointed towards the enemy, even though the side of your tank is at them. The front part is a smaller target, usually. See that nice flat side plate there of your turret. So you're presenting a somewhat smaller target, and at least one part of your armor, your best armor, is forward, and your gun is pointed that way so that you can shoot. Taking moving snapshots is one of those more important things in World of Tanks. So here we go. Are they always going to hit? Absolutely not. But if even 1 out of 10 hits, that's a little bit more credits, a little bit more experience, some damage taken off the board during the match. So we look in that bush and we come up here and I'm thinking, all right, well, he's obviously seen this done before. So he comes up, knocks down a tree, knocks down eventually another tree. Looks like he's looking for it. If you zoom in, you have a better idea where they are. There you go. So we knocked that tree down, and I think a little bit of a misunderstanding on the camo here because we sort of get up into the front of the tree and then we kind of have this bush here as well. So it's okay, but really for my money, you're back here. All right, not great gun depression on this, but enough that if you are back in these bushes right here, then I think you're doing the right thing, but you're way too far forward. So we're going to find out pretty quickly what that does to us. I'm surprised that guy didn't see you when you fired. You had just enough camo. Notice that he's well inside your ring right there when you saw him, and now he's nicely inside the spotting ring right there, okay? Your spotting and where you are going to be spotted as a general rule anyway. That has to do a lot with their ability to burn through. So we take that shot. Oops, sorry. We take that shot and we had to know we were going to get spotted. That is why you want to be further back for 2 reasons. One, you might not get spotted because you have enough bushes and down trees between you and him. And number 2, you can get off this hill faster. So we lose some hit points. We lose some more hit points. We're trying to get out of here. We lose some more hit points. And all of a sudden we're down to 341 hit points. So this gives us a lot fewer options. Very similar to World of Warships. If you're down hit points, you have less options for pushing situations later in the game. So we've lost a bunch of hit points. We come off that hill. I liked the initial position in this general area. That's a good place for mediums to go on steps in a encounter mode. So you're in the right place in general, but what you do from here is not much. Which may be obvious because you'll look at his damage and he'll go, yeah, noted, Guido, I didn't do that much. But why? Well, because you're not looking for shots. This is hugely, hugely important in this game. You have got to manufacture your own shots without YOLOing, without overexposing, without overextending. That's not easy, but it requires you to be closer to the fight. Nobody's going to come up and over anytime soon those ridges up there in front of you, right? Okay, let me get this right. These ridges, no one's really going to come up over those ridges. Look, you've got guys down there by the cap right now. Got a thunderbolt down there. an SU, you got a Hellcat up top. Nobody's going to go blitzing through those guys and present you shots back here. And it looks like you kind of realize that. You initially go back, and now we're going to move forward. I'm thinking, okay, fantastic, let's get forward. And then we're looking at guys behind rocks. This will come with time. We're going to see this in all 3 videos. A little bit of unfamiliarity with the maps and kind of staring into places where there's 100 yards of rocks between you and the target. That's where a little cross check coming down here into the mini map will help you out to take a look at, all right, where is that guy? Oh, he's down in that pit down there. So clearly, if I look here, I'm not going to have any shots on that guy right there, right? These guys are all down the pit. There's their little marker. There's all that ground, just as a dumb example, but we're going to see this multiple times. So you're going to have to bring your minimap a little bit more into the cross-check to kind of look at what's going on. I do the same thing in ships when I'm looking at the islands and things and trying to figure out when I'm going to get a shot, when a tank might come out, when a ship may come out from behind a island, when I can time shots. It's the same thing. It just comes with a bit of experience and paying attention. So now we come down here, I'm thinking, all right, he's going to get his gun in the game, let's do it. But we're kind of hanging out. Finally come up here, maybe get a shot. This is what I would call more exposure than you really want. All right, the way you do this one is over here, you move over to your left, okay, over to here, and you come up that ridge and then sideways a little bit, and you have your turret turned in the direction you want, and you only expose your turret. As it is, you've exposed your entire hole. So you can actually do this from a little bit further back on this ridge right here and come up on this bad boy, poke your nose over, just your cranium here, just your turret, and get that same shot, okay? And that's what happens when you expose your hole. So then I think, okay, great. Now we're going to come down here and get some shots. We've not done any damage. Thunderbolt's doing some yeoman's work down here. We got a Type 58 trying to push in, and we're crawling up on side of the hill. Now you're going to have a hard time with this tank's depression messing around on this high side of the hill. The Thunderbolt's already kind of got the inside groove right there. He has the depression to do this, and even he isn't quite as angled as you are right here. So where you really want to go is probably in between the Thunderbolt and that TD without trying to get too far in front of the TD. There's another option actually. See that rock right there? Make a dash across and get behind that rock right there, and then there's a bush there you can use to get shots. And this is just map knowledge. Somebody in this rock and bush area right here would be having an absolute heyday on these guys down this corridor and potentially even on this guy. Timing your shot to come out, shooting and diving behind the rock. There's no artillery in this game, so that's a fantastic position. But this crawling around to the side is going to be really hard. You end up getting a shot here actually, which works out nicely for you right about here. I think you finally go, and there we go. So you're probably thinking, whatever, Guido, I got a shot. It's very fiddly, as they say. You're having a really fiddly time trying to get shots. There's somebody in those bushes that keeps hitting the Thunderbolt. He just fired. See how he just fired into that bush? He knows someone's there. It happens to be the T-67, actually. And you should kind of know that. If you look at the mini-map, you can tell that there is a guy right down here, the T-67. So he's probably back in those bushes. And every time someone pokes around, they're getting shot in the face. The T-67 has really pretty good pen and a really rapid rate of fire for a little tier 5 TD. So you don't want to duel with him too much if you can't see him. So you're okay. Looks like the team has this underhand, or in hand, I guess. Under control and in hand. You're just waiting for some of your backup. Now, this whole time that you were futzing around right here, you could have been creating shots against the T-34-85. Because, 2 reasons. He is messing around with these guys as well, and that's a different angle up here that you could take shots on him. So as he's trying to rock back and forth, these guys are threatening him. You have shots on him. Looks like you've got a T-25 TP or 25 TP, maybe thinking about that. And if he gets too busy and enamored of these 2 tanks up top, the T-30-45 and the T-67, you could actually move across. You could actually move across the top here and get up behind him and maybe get a shot. Okay. You are a one-shot to him if he high rolls. He's got about 180 alpha for the T-34-85. But you should be able to survive even one shot. So as you moved in, and if he does turn on you and take a shot, then your buddies pop over and take him out. But as it is down here, we're not really doing much of anything. There's that T-67. He makes an unwise move, but he's getting pushed by other guys. So he takes a hit, and then down he goes. Now, what that does is that frees you you're able to now use this corner and come around this corner a lot more. So I would immediately have positioned down at the bottom of this flat plate here, or this flat area, so I could actually maneuver. Because if you look at the mini-map, the 3045 is up top, the T25 and the 3002M are both down in the pit right there. So just dive, there you go, drive right down there and look for a shot. So we go in and we back out. This is cleanup on L2. It's time now to get in there and look for your shots. There you go. You actually get a bounce, and that works out nicely. Thinking about reloads, another basic skill of this game. Look how fast you reloaded and how far away you are from getting back and getting a shot. You covered up against those guys. You didn't need to back up that much. You might have been thinking, well, I want to defend myself against the 3002, but he's got 73 hit points. You got a Thunderbolt and a Hellcat. Just hang out right in this area a little bit forward here, so that right when you reload, you pop out and get another shot on these guys. So you just back way too much. This is fairly typical of new players when you're trying to work out the timing of a reload and shooting. That timing of when to pop out, when to come back, when to protect myself from shots, paying attention to what the enemy guys are doing. So if you're closer, all right, if you're closer and you notice both of them shoot, it's easier for you to pop out and get a shot, especially at this tier where reloads on the 3002M and the Panzer T25 are really fast. So you want to be close enough that you can pop out and get a shot, but not so close that they're shooting your turret because you're exposed, and you don't want to be too far back so that you can't get there before they're reloaded again. All right, a fairly typical new player issue of pulling way too far back on reloads right there. All right, let's take a look at the next one. We got some more basic stuff on that one as well. Second example was interesting to me. We kind of drive around and we're thinking about getting up in a bush, but there's a Hellcat, and I'm thinking, all right, what's the plan? All right, this is something I'm going to ask a lot of people when I'm doing replay reviews, that I want you to think about what's the plan. You might say, well, Guido, the plan is to shoot tanks and win. All right, good start. But more specifically, how are you going to do that on this map, in this match, with these tanks and this tier setup and everything else? So let's just stop for a minute and look at this. We are here on Tundra, all right? So right now we're going to talk about a larger picture thing of how I assess a battle, some of the things I do to assess a battle, where I'm going to go, why I'm going to go there, and what my plan is getting there. This map is a good example of it, especially considering the direction that you went. I look at the setup and I go, okay, what do they got? They have a King Tiger, an Oni, a Comet, a Cupid, a Donner, Super Hellcats, a couple heavies in the middle at tier 6. It's all 6s and 7s. There's one artillery. There's a considerable number of TDs that I wouldn't expect to get too close initially. What do I have? An IS, a T29, kind of a similar middle setup, an ARL, and one artillery. Okay, so they have a Tiger C and an Oni. I have a T29 and an IS. Where are they probably going to go? Well, they're probably going to go to the heavy brawling area over here. What are they doing? I don't know. Where's the IS? I know the T29 comes this way. The IS is going over to the hill. Interesting. But you are getting a Hellcat and an M6, and I believe eventually a T29, wherever the heck he just went. I've lost track of the T29. I think he shows up here in a minute. Nope, he was buried in the Hellcat icon. Here he comes. There he is, knocking down trees and heading in. So, when I look at this setup, I look at this map, I know the terrain. In my mind, your 3001D is better served going up to the hill over here. Now, you may have tried to do that in the past and found that it's hard to fight. Absolutely, it is. It's easy to get overwhelmed if you screw up on the hill. You can use a medium in a heavy brawling area. I am not a proponent of Class X always goes to place Y. I don't agree with that at all in any way. But if you are going to take a medium to a traditional heavy area, which can be extremely effective, you have to know what you're doing, all right? So it is harder to do that, I would say, than to take yourself up the hill. So on this map, with this setup, it is harder for you to play where you're going, okay? Why? Well, because if you make a mistake, one of those two big heavies is going to shave off half your hit points. And 2 hits and you're basically out of game. You've got 770, I guess, hit points. And between the Oni, actually if the Oni pins you, it's game over, okay? The Tiger C is a 3-shot, I guess. He can't quite get you with 2. But certainly the 2 of them teaming up even without a pen, between the Oni and the Tiger, and you're basically out of the game. So we're going to come back here and just sort of look for shots. And I noticed this a lot with you trying to figure out spots and places and where I can get shots on guys. Trying to, and it's a good thing, trying to minimize exposure in general, which is good, but really going to kind of ineffective positions. There is no way in hell you're going to pen the King Tiger Seas turret or the Oni without some kind of miraculous RNG with AP. You're going to have a hard time enough with your 4 APCR that you're carrying. I haven't touched on this yet. I did talk about it on another video fairly recently. I recommend 100%, even new players use, especially at about tier 5 or higher, automatic fire extinguishers. Even though they're 20,000, you don't use them very much. They reduce the chance of a fire, which means you have less fires. They automatically extinguish the fire, which means you don't have to fumble futz trying to press number 6 and then miss a key or miss hitting it correctly, which means you burn less, which means it costs you less credits or repair costs, which means you have less stuff damaged so that it affects your performance later in the game. It's just overall automatic fire extinguishers are the best way to go. I like large kits and trying to think of this dang word, human repair kits. Med kits, that's what they are. I like those as well, provided I am not trying to grind credits, but they're not exactly the same as a large fire or a automatic fire extinguisher as far as keeping you from getting damaged, because you will lose crew members, you will lose equipment or modules much more than you will light on fire. All right, that's my little spiel on that, and I just watched you while you kind of went through here. So what we did is we went over to the heavy brawling area and we kind of poked around and realized we couldn't get a shot, and we didn't like that, and we kind of came out to the middle here, and we drove up into these buildings behind us, and we sort of looked around, and then we stared through some rocks because we thought we might have shots on guys, which that's just map awareness and experience in the game. The one guy was all the way over here on the far east side. The other guy was behind a bunch of different rocks. That little ravine is relatively open, and sometimes you can catch them crossing there, but all the guys you were looking at, you were never going to get a shot on. We are 4 minutes into the game, and I don't think you've taken a shot. And that, I cannot stress that point enough for new players, that you have got to create your shots for yourself, and early damage is best damage, and you need to get your gun in the game. And that's a hard thing, because what happens is a lot of new players will just get in tier 1, 2, and 3, and they rage forward, and they're, yes, tanks are cool, shoot, dead. Oh, crap. Yes, rage forward, I'm dead. Oh, rage, dead. What the hell? How come I die all the time? Or maybe I need to be in that bush back there where the other 7 guys are. And that's kind of how the genesis of a WOT player's career is. What I like about you is you are still kind of trying to move forward and find shots, but I can tell that you're a little gun shy because you're getting waxed probably on a regular basis going to those spots. And a lot of that is experience, knowing when to expose yourself, when not to, and approaches. Okay, we're going to get into approaches on the next one just a little bit, because those are important as far as how you get to the positions and the positions that you use. So I've talked a lot, and I would tell you that I think your best position with this tank was on that hill, at least initially. This hill is important. I wouldn't say it's absolutely 100% you win the hill, you win, but it's pretty high percentage rate. That's the high percentage play. Get this hill and then move on from there. A lot of teams will take that hill and stay there too long and then lose. You've got to come off of it at some point and start pressing the rest of their flanks. But this tank would have done a lot better up there. So then we kind of move into the middle, and we watch the ARL take 2 hits, but we go anyway. Right? The ARL, I don't know if you noticed that, and that's one thing I do camera work-wise, is I'm going around and I'm watching my team. I'm paying attention. If that ARL takes 2 hits at about 240 damage, driving into the open, I don't drive into that open. I don't. He just scouted by fire. Somebody be back there, and that's no surprise, because what do we got left? We got Hellcats, we've got a Nashorn, we got another little Hellcat, the tier 6. Holy cow! Now a lot of them are spotted over here, but what's not spotted is the Nashorn. It turns out that's what's sitting back there plinking us. So we take some hits, and then we think, hey, let's just drive across the open again over here. Oh, there's the Nashorn. Well, thankfully, he's been spotted, and he's trying to run away, or you would have taken a hit in the side as well. you ended up spotting him. So you got no shots, you've spotted a Nashorn, and we're driving into the middle, and now we see these guys. As a general rule, your SA is pretty high for the local area. I do see you react pretty quickly to guys that are spotted near you, so that's very good. Your map awareness as far as how the maps work and where they are is a bit limited, but that will come with time. But that's actually a good thing that your immediate position SA is decent. So we get this guy. All right, let's talk about going after two guys. All right, this is a higher order kind of thing right here, fighting two guys. The Super Hellcat hits pretty hard. The Comet is going to machine gun you down. You have 300 hit points. How do I deal with this? Well, you really need to get rid of that Comet first. And a Super Hellcat's not that maneuverable. It's kind of the Bull and the Matador kind of thing with Hellcats. If he's charging at you, let him go by. What I would have done here is driven straight up this ramp and look to take down the Comet as fast as possible. Get rid of the Comet and then either run away while this Super Hellcat does this big Titanic-sized turn circle and attempts to turn around and come at me. Plus, I can put this terrain. I can put this terrain right here between me and the Hellcat if I can get up and over. Your tank's pretty quick. So go up and over, run over the Comet, and then head down that ramp and try to get away from this Hellcat. If you try to fight both of them like this, you're just probably going to get machine gunned down. Now, the specifics, though, if you decide to fight the Hellcat of how to do this, let's watch what happens. And I'm just going to show you without your view here. Okay, so he comes in. We get a shot. That's good. What you need to do is put that pip, and what I would have done on this as he came at me is zoomed out, put the pipper on it, and right-click to auto-aim. Make sure that you have in your settings the little auto-aim indicator thing on the marker. Let's just get there for a second because I don't know if you have that. We go to settings, we go to marker, we go to auto-aim indicator, this dude right here. See that little crossbar? I didn't run with that for the longest time. I'll be honest, I don't know why. But I remember using it earlier. For some reason I turned it off. Somebody reminded me a couple weeks ago. Hugely important because that lets you know that auto-aim is actually on that guy. And that's been one of my problems with auto-aim. But make sure that's clicked on for enemy team so that when you right-click on that guy, you get that little crosshair and you know it's locked. And from there, all I have to do is turn my hull and my turret. So in this case, it would be a D. Okay, D for a right turn. I'd be turning D and just watching my turret track him. Watch what you do, though. Let me show you. Oh. And you're driving forward. So the fastest way to turn your turret is to spin your hull in place and turn your turret, because that does your turret's rate of turn and your hull's rate of turn are added together, and your turret turret ends up turning faster. Does that make sense? If I drive, my rate of turn is slower. So any forward turn or any forward motion makes my rate of turn slower. I want to spin in place and turn my turret at the same time. And I can easily, based on how fast this thing will turn around, keep my turret lined up with this guy. And let's see how we're trying to do this. Oh, that's your view. Oh, geez. Probably could have survived this because you actually got some help in there. And you missed a shot or two that you could have done with auto-aim, and then you'd had enough hit points to take probably one hit from the Comet. You could have come out of that fight, zoomed in on the Comet, and taken him down. But as it turns out, he ends up getting you. Fighting two guys is a difficult skill. Deciding which one has to die first or who I'm going to fight is one of those things that you kind of have to assess as it goes. I think, like I said, I might have gone after the Comet. The only issue with maybe going after the Comet, as soon as you started coming up the hill, he probably would have been backing off, and you might have not quite got to him before the Hellcat put a shot into you. But you noticed how hard it was for the Hellcat to get his turret on you, because his turret is so dang slow. And he was trying to circle you with this really slow turret. The Super's better than the regular one. The regular one is especially painful as well. But you can see that when you're fighting a guy, that if he's having trouble keeping his turret on you, that you can sometimes avoid that. Now, if there's one thing you may have been thinking here, that the Super Hellcat's turret is slow. So if I actually move forward, now I'm in a bit of a circle fight, and that's going to make it a little more difficult than if I just spin in place. Possibly. Okay, there's a lot of things going on right there, but fighting two guys, I think there's a couple mechanical things there, especially the auto-aim and the spinning part, and then deciding which guy has to die first, that are really important for you right there. So I hope some of that advice and information helps. Let's go on to the third example. For the last example, Seven-Sided is here on Mountain Pass, which is an entirely awful map. But there you go. We have to play on bad maps or maps we don't like or maps that aren't suited for our tanks on occasion. We got people randomly firing. We spawn into the northwest and we're going to head down this way. And I'll ask you right now, what was your plan? Okay. You go to generally important areas. That's good. Keep doing that. I think that on occasion you pick the wrong area based on the setup and what's going on. Although in this case, taking a medium to where you're going is not a bad idea. Although you stop here. Now let's talk about this when you do it. This is not a bad idea because you're going to get spots. So clearly you're aware of this, that people try to cross down here from the red side, try to cross this open area. You've got scouts with you right here. You've got a 1375 and a Type 64, and they may afford you shots. You know where it's better for them to afford you shots? Back there. Maybe in these bushes, back in this area back here to bush up a little bit. This road's a little lower. You can go hold down, kind of like that T29 is right there. But this spot's okay, but let's watch how Seven-Sided uses it. All right, so we'll just kind of see this, and we'll put out our strongest side armor. You are way out in the open. What happens is guys will show up on this corner right here. They have 3 artillery. If you're seen, you are just completely exposed. So while you are looking for early shots and you know where they are, that is absolutely fantastic. This is a horrible, horrible position to try to go with them. And especially if you're going to do this position, don't come out sideways. Go down kind of where that 1375 is and come out forward a little bit. For my money, you're back there because you're further back. You're less likely to get spotted right here. I mean, even the Tiger can just about spot you here. Look at your circle. He's just inside of it. Depending on what his capability is for spotting, for view range, he may actually see you, and there's probably somebody else nearby. So he goes by. Look at, he's got his turret pointed. That was good. You see that? His turret was pointed towards a threat. That's what I was talking about earlier on one of the other games. When you are crossing a exposed area like that, you need to put your turret towards the threat. So far he has not taken any shots. All right. There goes the Panzer Fizzle. Nice job on the lead fire. You got a good concept of that. Plus, I think you realized you couldn't quite let it zoom in completely, so you take that more or less a snap. Slightly aimed snap, I guess. A slap. Took a slap at him, but you missed. And holy cow, that last little move. Wow. I mean, you just really got away with one right there, to be quite honest. And this is something we have to be honest with ourselves and understand. It worked. You didn't take damage. Don't do it again. Also, this is map awareness. That Panzer Fizzle, right about there where that ground starts to rise, you're not going to get any more shots on that guy. And you went way out thinking, oh, I'm going to try to get more shot. He was well gone. That shot snap you took, you were not going to get any more shots from your position. So there was no reason to go out again. But you got away with it. All right. That was like, holy cow. I expected this to be over right there. You didn't even get spotted, which was interesting. They simply did not send any scouts over there to look. So I was talking earlier that I'm not bothered too much by this position. Mediums are hard on this map. I don't recommend the ice road where the guy's clicking the E25. And the reason he's clicking there is nobody went there to at least watch it. And that's important. The other places you can go on this map is the middle, kind of where you were. That's not a bad medium spot because you can flex north-south as required. If there's shots there, fine. If there's not, then you need to do something different. I do like going down to the south so I can add my gun to the game to at least see what's going on. Your tank is fast enough to flex around as required. I said we talk about approach. This was interesting to me. We're coming down here and I don't even know why we would go wide right here. There's really no reason. When I approach on this one, I'm always going to be up against this wall right here, especially if I'm the first one here so that I can take a quick look around this corner. But if I blast across here and someone's fast enough, I can get shot. You know, probably not, because obviously your 3 guys are ahead of you right here. But watch what happens when you go really wide here. We go over a rock, and we just make this approach. And the other thing is the speed of the approach. That took a lot of extra time right there, and you need to come around this corner as fast as possible and get your Patukas up here and help these guys. So now we go back here. I'm thinking, oh, we're going to get in a bush, I guess. And I see this a couple times. You kind of get into bushes way in the back, and I'm thinking, all right, well, why? There's no possible way, based on what you're seeing right now, anybody's going to see you, and you're not going to get any shots right there. So we come forward, This was interesting. I'm like, are you actually looking in that bush? Because I don't know if you know this, but there's no way for them to get into that bush from their side. That is entirely your bush to use. That ramp right there goes right up to it. So nobody's coming out of that bush or hiding in that bush right there. And that's just going to be map awareness. If you were just doing something else, that's fine. But I thought that was kind of odd as you're poking in there. When I say things like that, when I say, you know, obviously no one's going to do that and there's nobody there and you should know that, it's not necessarily a fact of you should know that. It's you're learning, and these are the things you need to learn about the maps, and it will come with time. There's a lot of maps, there's a lot of terrain to know, there's a lot of information you don't have that people have. So information is power in this case. So we come up here. This is not a bad spot. The problem with it when you go that far forward is exactly what you're seeing here. That King Tiger and other guys in here can have shots on you. Also over here in this bush area here, depending on their gun depression, they can take pokes at you right there as well. So be very careful moving this far up right here this early when you don't know where all their guns are. Now the Panzer Fizzle-Lizzle is back in the corner. And we really get kind of up on here. This was crazy. I think you actually damaged this guy here. Oh no, you got spotting, all right. So we shoot, and thank goodness he wasn't reloaded, because you really just exposed yourself. We drive up on a rock. Holy cow, learn how to drive. And we come around. Now, what should you have done here? I would have actually used this bush right here and got up in there and taken a looky-loo. That's where mediums go to help their team break open this flank here, is get into this bush and see if they can see anybody and afford your heavies back here shots on their guys that are hanging out in this back area. The enemy team often will come to the corner, but it looks like this one did not. That means you have a slight advantage right now on this flank to push this corner and sweep up any of their guys that are down in here. And that starts with vision, and it starts with your mediums using that bush right there, okay? A big swarm, what we would call a wolf pack, just pushing through there and gobbling these guys up could work in this case, but you have a King Tiger back there with a relatively fast reload and a hard-hitting gun. So I don't think right now is a great time to come raging out and face the 3485M, the King Tiger, and wherever the heck that Super Hellcat is hiding, which is in those bushes I just mentioned a little bit earlier. It'd be really nice, actually, if you could get in that bush and find that guy. The thing to watch out for on that bush, let's just beat this dead horse. When you do come up here, you will be exposed from that ridge a little bit. If that Hellcat is down in here, he may see you. So come here, give a couple pokes, and then come right back down and go, all right, 6 cents, what happened? Nothing? All right, let me see if I can get up in that bush and now start spotting these guys. This area is vulnerable to arty. There are 3 enemy arties. So if you're spotted, skedaddle out of there and then tuck up against this wall. That's why the T-150 is there, to defend himself against arty to a large extent. Looks like the T-29 has taken some hits back there, so someone sees him. Either the King Tiger or potentially that Hellcat is in there. So we kind of look around. I'm thinking, all right, well, now he's doing his medium thing. Now he's going to try to help his team get some spots here. Maybe he's going to get into that bush. Nope, we're not going to get into that bush. And people are getting shot, and holy cow, everyone's getting seasick because we're not sure what we're doing. Interestingly, that north push of yours got organized. A bunch of your TDs went to the ice road. The center seems to be fine. The bridge. The middle is a little bit of a concern because there's nobody there. And I'm asking again here, man, SevenSided, what's the plan, right? What are you trying to do? Do you want to try to break this flank? Do you want to go to the middle and try to help that middle push with the Super and the 1375 and the M10R? Do you want to try to go through the low area here and come up behind these guys and maybe give them some trouble, or at least go take a look at what might be going on here? What's the plan? And I'll be honest, it's not apparent. I'm trying to figure it out myself. And I think you were too. So it looks like the M4 decides to go that way, and you decide to go that way. And this is not a bad plan. If you went to that corner and went, you know what, it's a bit of a stalemate. There's a Super bushed up. There's a 3045. The King Tiger's hanging out back there. Nobody seems interested in pushing. I can't see them. Let's go do something different. That's not a bad idea. I think you could have done a lot more on that corner as far as using that bush and maybe poking a little bit and seeing where they are. But that being said, this is not a bad plan to come around here. The Stug drives out into the middle. He decides to do that and dies for it. You come around here, and then we have an E25 pushing in, and somehow that middle push gets decimated. So I liked this. You saw that. It looks like you and the M4. I don't know if you noticed this, but look what the M4 is doing. He's got his turret towards the threat. You knew that 3045 was there, right? Probably he reacted to the Stug getting killed. And since that's where the bad guys are, that's where your turret should be. And I think this guy takes a shot. Yeah, look at that. So he just takes that shot. No harm, no foul. That's where your turret should have been gone. As soon as you started crossing that open area, turret pointed towards the threat, you might have even had a shot right there. M4 takes a little artillery fire, but avoids it nicely with a little wheelie off the rock. All right, this is dangerous. Danger, danger. We have an E25, an LTG, and an SA35 CA. The TD hits hard. The E25 is ridiculously overpowered. He's a tier above. He's going to have not too hard of a time taking you down if you don't play this well. Your team is starting to get salty. We're going to come around here. You do this a lot, and I've talked about it a couple times. You really expose your side armor to people when you didn't need to. You didn't have to be this far away from that rock. Also, you're exposed to artillery when you're that far from the rock. So see that angle that the M4 is using? That's the angle you should be at right now coming around that corner. You know what really sucks about coming out like that? If they end up tracking you, hitting your front sprocket right there, and you've got a rock right here and you can't even get your turret on, but they can shoot you and permatrack you. Guess who loves to do that? Mr. E25 can do that. His rate of fire is ridiculous. So be very careful about that. So we come to this rock. All right, so we got a couple different angles. It's actually not bad. Between you and the M4, you can use a couple different angles. So we come in here and we see the LTG. The M4 tries to get him. You look for a shot. And, there he is. So he dies. That's good. There's the E25. Oh boy. All right, so E25 is aware. There's artillery. You're not in a great spot right here. All right, this is not a good spot anymore. The SA35 is back there doing God knows what, but if you expose yourself too much, you might get a shot. Maybe not coming around the left side of this rock, but certainly the right side, and I'd be worried about the artillery. So really, there's no sense in pushing a bad situation. If you are going to take on the E25, you need to side scrape out on this guy, and even then it's going to be a little bit difficult on that. But what you don't do, there's the artillery. Ooh, that puts your back end out. You don't do this. All right, I missed, and now I'm gonna. Oh boy, rock back and forth, and this is one of those things. I don't know. You just went screw it. He's actually got your track, so you're kind of screwed right now. You could fix him though. You do have a repair kit going on. Maybe you were trying to do that, but look at this. You're just side armor to this guy. You're getting permatrack, and you're standing in against an E25 with 500 or so hit points. Put my eyes on 570 hit points. You've got 373. You're simply not going to win this fight. Boom. Oh boy. And we're dead. I mean, entirely predictable to come around against an E25 sideways and try to take him on. That may have just been born of frustration. But if you were going to take this guy on, my recommendation would have been to fall back and try to figure out how to deal with him in another way. In addition to that, your T29 died and everyone... Nope, T29 ran away. Okay, so he's actually behind you. You lost the south flank right there. Basically, you're forced to kind of turtle up. You do have a strong TD force still sitting up in the north, so everything is not lost. There was really no reason, if it was a case of frustration, to just pop out and get waxed by the E25 right there. All right, man, we're going to stop it at 3. You sent me a lot. If you want to, in the next couple weeks, send me some more after you sort of take some of this and start working on some of the things I've given you. I've given you a lot to think about. All of this is very basic stuff, but that's what we get with new players, is you've got to start solidifying some of the basic stuff. The good news is that you go to the right places. You are carefully aggressive, leaning too far too carefully. So start to break out of that shell a little bit. The only way you kind of learn where these spots are that you can push, where these positions are that you can get early shots, is to be a little bit aggressive and then take your lumps and go, okay, I can't quite go that far. Let me go there again, but not exactly that far forward. And hopefully on these few maps, we gave you some specific examples. There's so many maps, it would be really hard to go through every single position, but you're going to get that information as you go. Do not get frustrated. It can be a frustrating game, especially with a game that's this mature and has this many experienced players in it. They're way ahead of you just on time spent in the game. But the good news is I can see the basic building blocks that you've got, and I don't think it'll be very long before you start figuring out. I like that you're doing the medium thing too. Stick with the medium thing, because I would start another line of heavies as well, just to have a little bit more relaxing, calm kind of gameplay. But stick with the mediums, because that's where you're really going to learn the game. All right, Seven-Sided, thanks for sending that stuff in, man. I hope that was a lot of stuff, so I hope there's some nuggets in there that you can take. For everybody else, thanks for coming by. I hope you learned something. If you did, give me a subscribe down there. If you want other ways to support the channel, my Twitch stream, etc., there's lots of options down in the description. That's all I've got for today. You guys have a good day, and we will see you.